What's up, everybody? It's the Common Sense Investor coming at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be continuing on with our series here. We have finished part 1, the Objections series, alright, where I showed you what my complete version of all of my objections were put together in one letter. Then I showed you each objection letter and how you can incorporate these objections into your own letter using ChatGPT. All you got to do is go watch the videos, follow the instructions, and you'll be fine. All right, now we're going to start talking about part 2 of what I've done, which is the new proposed settlement. Now, let's talk about that for a minute, people, because some people's questioned and said, well, do we even have the right to make a suggestion to the court on what the settlement should be? The answer to that question is absolutely. You're a class member, and the settlement and the monetary figures and anything else that's involved in this settlement concerns you, and you have a voice. All right? So after you've voiced your objection, you have now got an opportunity to say, and this is what I'd like to see in the settlement plan. Then the judge retires. She goes away for a month, maybe 6 weeks, comes back, and she's considered what they've said. They've considered what I've said. They'll consider what you've said, and she will come back with her ruling on what she thinks. Either the lawsuit is no good and she throws it out, or she's going to move to settle, and she, under consideration of what they gave and what we give, she will lay her ruling as to what the settlement should be. That's how the process is going to work, people. So it was important to me to where now we have somebody who can have an ear to hear what we're trying to say that AMC can do besides a reverse stock split and conversion and ruin our shares the way they're planning on doing. There's other alternatives to raise money, and that's where I focus my proposed settlement. I said, Your Honor, look, here are some other ways AMC can generate money. But before we get to how can AMC generate money, let's talk about the punitive damages and what the judge should sanction AMC, Adam Aaron, and the board, what they should be sanctioned. So let's get into it. This is going to be my brief in support of these proposals. A restitution plan for AMC. We understand, according to this, AMC's doing bad. It cannot afford to come out of pocket all at one time $129 million. And every time the price goes up, the settlement value goes up. So it's about $160 million right now. We know AMC can't pay that up front right now, but we could be placed on a restitution plan that could benefit shareholders, and I explain how in that restitution proposal. Then I have a proposal for a capital restructuring plan that's dealing with how Adam Aaron messed it all up. You're going to see that in the brief in support of that, how he messed it up, and then I come back and show how they can fix it. And then a Series B is how they raise money now in order to keep going. And instead of a reverse stock split to lower the float, why don't we do a stock buyback program? All of that is encompassed in my new proposed settlement. So let's take a look at the very first part of it, which is the brief in support of the proposed settlement. All right? And here it is. Written in not all this nice legalese stuff. Thanks, Ethan. All right? Table of contents, brief in support, the preliminary statement and the background of the case. We're not going to go through all that because you're already familiar with it. Is AMC preferred shares legal? You're going to read that. It's going to tell you that they are legal. I don't care how you feel about it or how I feel about it, but like I stated in the article, no matter how immoral it was for Adam Aaron to use the anti-takeover measure against the shareholders, it was legal for him to do that with the preferred shares because they had been there since 2013 when they first incorporated the company. They had that ability. So there is no question that they could have done it. It was just immoral how he done it. And then it's called into question later on about the 40% that he took from our equity. All right. Then I talk about Project Popcorn, which everybody's familiar with. That's where Citigroup got involved, and they gave a suggestion to AMC. And then in page 9, I say Citigroup lays out the framework. Now, this part of the story, people, is not what your YouTubers are telling you. They are telling you the complete opposite of what I'm telling the judge and what I believe is going on. So let's check out Citigroup lays out the framework, and we'll start right there. Here we go. Now, Project Popcorn. According to the court documents, it was Citigroup that approached AMC with the concept of Project Popcorn. The plan was rather simple. Shareholders had refused on several occasions to allow the defendants to issue a dilutive block of common stock. Therefore, they had a plan that could help AMC raise capital now and worry about dilution at a later time. Mr. Van Zanden explained that the company was short on common shares, but they still had 50 million shares, which might be used to raise cash if needed. All right, and that's number 4 down here, and I tell them where it's at in the plaintiff's brief. All right, it was here that AMC began to plan an offering of preferred shares to its retail stockholders through a rights offering, which is common in Europe, but less so in the U.S. All right. Citigroup lays out the framework. Now listen, people, to the story, and not your favorite YouTuber. Listen to that's being said. Imagine if this was company LMNOP and they were offered this type of framework to raise money. One of AMC's preferred unit would convert into 1 share of common stock, subject to shareholder authorization, to increase the company's outstanding shares sometime in the future, Citigroup explained. He said, okay, you can't sell AMC shares. But if he could have gotten the money for the AMC shares now, but released them onto the market 6 months, 9 months, or a year later, that would have been okay with us. Yeah, take the money now. Citigroup says, we're going to give you $400 million now, but you don't have to give us the shares for a year from now. Okay, deal. No big deal. That's what was going on here. You're going to have to issue these new shares, and to convert them back into AMC shares, which will be dilutive, you're going to need a shareholder authorization. So as long as shareholders don't approve it, you don't convert it back into AMC shares. It's that simple. There was no conspiracy here. AMC could raise the needed capital to keep the money going without diluting the value of its company stock at the moment, and shareholders would have a say in the decision of the conversion of AMC convertible preferred shares in the future. It was a brilliant strategy and a win-win for everybody. It really was. This plan for preferred shares was a perfect plan, and it remains perfect till it gets into Adam Aron's hands. Watch. During the discussion with the board, Defendant Goodman suggested that registering 1 billion preferred equity units would be a reasonable approach for raising capital, and 517 million units would be reserved for Class A common shareholders as a special dividend, and the remainder to be sold at at-the-market offerings. Okay? Still no conspiracy. They're going to give us a special dividend. They ain't said nothing about going to charge us for it. They're going to give us 517 million shares. All right? So, there's still no conspiracy. All right? Defendant Merriweather expressed his concerns, however. AMC had to find a balance between raising the capital and not upsetting the shareholders with excessive dilution of their shares. He suggested that there might be a sweet spot, a middle ground, if you will, that would allow the company to sell the preferred shares and raise the necessary capital the company needed without causing dilution to the common stock at the moment. He's like, listen, you know they're not going to approve it. All right, we're going to have to set the dilution sometime into the future if we do this. Everything's fine. We're still on board with you. Let's do this. Essentially, the defendants were trying to find a way to raise capital for the company while minimizing the negative impact of existing AMC Class A shareholders. That's what they were doing. That's what they were discussing. How can they raise money now without diluting AMC right then? Answer: give out Ape, sell it, get the money. Later on, convert it into AMC. You'll dilute the stock, but then that'll be with shareholder approval in the future, and we'll worry about that later. It was perfect. On July 27th, defendant Aaron wrote a letter to the board promoting the use of AMC preferred equity units as a single most impactful action that AMC will take that year. And to reward faithful shareholders, they give us a dividend. Okay. Now, the mismanagement part. It should be noted this class member, along with many more, agreed to the legality of the AMC preferred shares. It was a brilliant plan, simply mismanaged. As the court is aware, on August 4th, 2022, AMC, in a United States Securities and Exchange Commission filing, declared the preferred equity unit would be classified as Series A, convertible preferred shares. That's number 9, and there's the form for it that shows that this is a stock. All right. At the same time, defendant Aaron announced the news of the special dividend that would soon be delivered on December 19, 2022. Aaron announced AMC had raised over $162 million through the sale of their at-the-money offering. I got the footnote for that. On December 22nd, 2022, defendant Aaron announced AMC had entered into yet another at-the-money offering with Antara, resulting in a substantial cash raise and the restructuring of the company's debt. A closer inspection here will quickly reveal the problem. Preferred shares, also known as preferred stock, are a type of ownership in a corporation that has a higher claim on the company's assets and earnings compared to common stocks. Preferred shares receive dividends before common stockholders, and these dividends are often at a fixed rate. Preferred shares are considered more valuable than common stocks because they have first claim on assets distribution. This is all important, people. Just pay attention, please. All right? But he didn't attach any of these benefits to the ape. The only benefit he attached to the ape was the right to vote in a company election. That was it. That was the sole purpose of ape being created. Or if you bought the ape, that was the only benefit you would be getting. Members of the class were granted a special dividend in the form of Series A convertible preferred shares. It was an exciting time for AMC shareholders, or so it appeared on the surface. Soon, their confidence would be significantly shaken when the company shifted approximately 40% of their Class A common shareholder equity to establish the preferred equity unit known as APE. Shareholders stood dazed and confused. How could their CEO simply take 40% of their equity and call it a dividend when the fact is they felt robbed? It became even more perplexing when defendant Aaron began issuing the company's at-the-money preferred offerings that followed the special dividend, yet they weren't categorized as a separate series of preferred stock, such as preferred stock B. Instead, defendant Aaron grouped all of the at-the-money offerings together with the special dividend that was created for shareholders. And as one would expect, shareholders watched their special dividend price go from approximately $6 in September of 2022 to a staggering 61 cents. Now here's where the rubber meets the road. All right. Later, defendant Aaron would try to convince shareholders that mysterious forces had pushed the price of their special dividend down, when the fact is he never distinguished between the company's special dividend and the at-the-money offerings. To separate the offerings would have been the logical course of action to take. It was the lack of clarity between the special dividend and the at-the-money offerings that has the class in a helpless state. This was the force that pushed their once beloved special dividend to the mouth-dropping lows. All right, people? From $6 to 61 cents. When Adam Aaron started selling Ape, we went from $6 to 61 cents. He's hollering, mysterious forces. No, bitch, it's you. You sold 100% of the fucking float. There was 517 million. Now there's a billion. So he sold 500 million fucking shares of Ape. What'd you expect the price to do? Is the course of this right here. And then I'm just laying it on him. He diluted it, man. They're killing us. And then at the money offering, the AMC Preferred Series A had an increased outstanding float of 995,410,000. Or in other words, the at the money offering diluted the outstanding float of the special dividend, the Series A preferred stock, by more than 90%. Because when he sold, he didn't separate them from the dividend. And that's why the Ape dividend, our dividend, has fallen to the lows that it is. It's not mysterious forces. Quit listening to that bullshit. You ought to have figured it out by now. They've been wrong the whole time, and I was riding with them. I had to get out that fucking car and get into reality here. All right? That it was Adam Aaron selling 500 million apes that pushed the price down to 61 cents. And when it got to $1, he filed for it to be able to be pushed even lower. So who's to blame here? And what caused it? Not separating our dividend from the other apes. All right? Now, everything was fine until that happened. Now I'm going to talk about the Antara deal here. And I'll read this one paragraph, and this will be it on this video. On December 22nd, 2022, AMC Entertainment announced it entered into a forward purchasing agreement with Antara Capital LP, pursuant to which the company will, subject to the satisfaction of certain closing conditions. And after all was said and done, Antara walked away with the sweetheart deal, now possessing 27.8% of all outstanding Ape shares, along with the conditional voting rights. All right, that's going to be important. And I believe I've already told y'all about it once already, but you're not allowed to sell 20% or more of a company's voting power without having a special vote to make sure that those shareholders don't mind you doing that. So he didn't check with the 517 million apes shares before he sold those to Antara and diluted our voting power. But I'm bumped in the case. But anyway, that's what this is. This is just the argument, people. That's all it is. I'm simply laying out to the judge, hey, you've heard AMC's story, you've heard Allegheny's story, now let's hear the shareholders' story. And that's what I have attempted to do in the brief in support of a new proposed settlement. I've explained to her how they have messed over us so many times, and that this time it's got to stop. That's what that whole brief is about. So take the time out and read it. It's pretty good. Then I said, now this is how it should have been fixed. And I get into the restitution plan, restructuring plan. You got to start a preferred Series B. We don't do no reverse stock split, no conversion. We don't do a goddamn thing. You're going to start a Series B if you need some money. You can sell some onto the open market, probably to us first. I explain it all, people, and you're going to love it when you hear what I have to say, and especially the buyback program. And we'll get into that in the next videos. Love y'all. Be blessed. See y'all when I get back from the hospital.